I was sitting in my car the other day when this interview came out, and I got about 16 or 17 minutes into this interview. And I stopped it and I said, you know what? I'm going to come back here in a few days when I actually have enough time to sit down and use an hour to not necessarily dissect the conversation or discussion that Umar is having with Charlemagne and Envy, but to react to it. There's a lot of people that if there was someone that was white doing what Dr. Umar does, that would be deemed racist. I'm going to just leave it at that. And if y'all don't believe me, and before you guys run to the comments and start saying, you don't know Dr. Umar did this, we're going to get into it. So watch the whole video first, because a lot of things that he gets into, and I mean, there's some things that I don't really have the knowledge on that he talks about, and those are going to be the ones that I really won't have an opinion on. But when it comes to some of this other stuff, there is no way in hell you're going to be able to convince me that Dr. Umar is not a clown. Normally, I give you guys receipts, but you're going to hear it straight from the horse's mouth in this interview.
Man, congrats on the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. I've been paying attention. I see that you got the building.
Yes, sir.
You've been doing renovations on the building.
Yes,
I saw you put the HVAC in, all kind of other stuff.
To see the school.
Now talk about the process, because it was a long process.
It was a very long process.
Trials and tribulations and hurdles. So talk about that a little bit and what you had to get through, and also getting funding.
Yeah. And I said, you know what? We may have to step outside the African-American community to get this done, because we've been waiting 3 years for our people to help us. Not for free. Mm-hmm. We could afford to pay them, but they wasn't being honest with us and straight up. And, of course, we know that's not all of our contractors. We want to be clear. We've met a lot of decent contractors along the way. But the ones who we had to use, because they was licensed and certified where we are, they didn't really do us right. So I said, let's go with some white folks. And guess what? Here we are, 90 days later. And the white contractors have gotten us to the finish line in 3 months versus 3 years waiting on our own people.
So what does that say?
It says that we need the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey Academy. It says that black boys have to be raised and trained in how to be black men and how to be committed to the black community, because I think as a community we've lost our integrity, our honor, our loyalty, and our commitment. If I was who I am for black people, for the Mexican-American community, that school would have been done 3 years ago.
Find the best people, period. Maybe you wouldn't have wasted your tens of thousands or possibly hundreds of thousands of dollars on faulty contractors or shady contractors. But you would think that Dr. Umar, someone who has considered himself a quote-unquote businessman for the past I don't know how many freaking years, would know that.
Let me ask you a question. The students that want to attend your school.
Yes, sir.
Is there
Thank you.
Is there anything, what are the qualifications, if there are any?
Be black. There's really no qualifications.
And so it begins. It's funny. I gave this dude support earlier. Excuse me. I gave this dude support earlier about the school. I said, hey, man, if you're teaching everybody how to, like, I understand that you're doing this for mostly black people, but, as long as you're not saying you're going to keep the school just black and keep other races out, hey, thumbs up from me. But now, sitting here, he's saying all this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, man, yeah. So, what are the qualifications? Leave it to Envy to ask. What are the qualifications for this school? And you just heard it from him. You just heard it straight from the horse's mouth. Umar says, there's not really any qualifications, honestly. Just be black.
So what do you think about the study of H.R. 40? You know what I mean? Because, that study is
the reparations bill.
Yeah, it's the reparations bill that's supposed to see and determine, who gets reparations and how much reparations.
Well, let's take it a step further. The state of California legislature just approved in the past few days a bill that will give each African American in the state of California $233,000 as a reparations payment.
I think that's some bullshit. I think Gavin Newsom is just doing that because reparations is going to be the buzzword for 2024 to get black people energized.
Facts. I don't usually agree with Charlemagne. There's no way this is going to happen. I don't know, man. It is California that we're talking about. So, I mean, they've passed some weird shit in the past couple years. So, I just don't see it happening, though.
It is, and it's also a trap. Now, first of all, the reparations movement comes out of the Pan-Africanist movement. We gave birth to reparations. It's not anything new. That's our thing, although it's for the whole people. A cash payout for reparations is a trap. And the reason a cash payout for reparations is a trap is because so much of what needs to be fixed in American society for African people will take more than cash to do it. In other words, I give DJ Envy $233,000. Or if I take the Bob Johnson plan, he said each American African is due $350,000, right? I give you $350,000. Does that stop mass incarceration?
Nope.
Does that stop miseducation? Does that stop gentrification? Does that stop police genocide? Does that guarantee us access?
No kind of reparations is going to stop that. I'm not even going to get into those crimes and my opinions on what he's saying about those crimes. I'm not even going to get into that. But let's say, in his case, what he's saying, all those crimes happen at a massive fucking rate, right? If that is true, no kind of reparations, none. If you gave us land as reparations, that's still not going to fix it. Because in 2022, we know that the government is going after land. So if you give a whole bunch of us land, the government's going to come back by 2026 and take it all. You're going to have the Bill Gates and the dude from Amazon, Bezos. You're going to have the Bill Gates and Bezos of the world run around and do what they're doing right now, which is buying up land. And then you're going to have, never mind, I'm not even going to get into it with it, but you're going to have the Tyler Perrys of the world running around and buying up other land off of black people. Again, this is in a scenario of land and reparations, because if he's talking about not doing money reparations, which I can understand, and I think is also a trap if you give niggas money like that, and expect for us to, I don't know. I ain't going to get it all. But what I will say is someone's going to come around and buy up all that land eventually. Whether it's the government or a billionaire. Or I guess in Bill Gates' case, a trillionaire.
Access to wealth. I mean, in the state of California, what can you get with $233,000? I'm not even sure if that's enough for a house. And on top of that, the minute they give you the payment, they can reduce the value of the payment through inflation. So I can flood the economy with money so the 233 is only worth 120 in about 24 hours. And then guess what they're going to do after they give the reparations to African people? They're going to find subsidy programs to give to the LGBTQ, to the women, to immigrants, to other people. So at the end of the day, what looked like,
which defeats the argument for reparations. And that's what I've been saying this whole fucking time. I'm like, fam, what has happened every single time blacks have cried out about something? The gays come running right behind. The LMNOP community comes running right behind. Women come running right behind. Transgenders come running right behind. Now you got the drag queens out there doing their thing. They come running right behind. We're getting discriminated now. I'm telling you right now, the dominoes are going to fall and everybody's going to be running out with their hands up. And that's only one of the reasons why I don't want reparations to happen.
nobody can own, sell, produce, publish, promote black music but black people.
Why is that so important?
Because music is one of America's leading export industries. America makes more money off black music than almost anything else that she sells. So if we control the music, we have a steady stream of global revenue where we can build a black Wall Street in every single city in America for black people. That's how much money will be coming in from black music. That's one. Two, all black inventions return to us permanently. Everything we invented is a permanent patent for Africans. And if you want to use it, you must pay us a percentage. The cell phone, we invented that. Internet, that's our.
This dude is just sitting here wasting people's time, bro. What do you want? What do you really want that's actually feasible that we can give you, Umar? Now y'all seeing how crazy this dude, I've told y'all for years at this point. I have not made this dude out to be some crazy lunatic. He's done it himself. He's sitting here saying, give us our stuff back. We need internet. And just because he says everything in this weird-ass voice that he does, people think he's smart. People think that, he's making six. Oh, yeah, give us cell phones and internet. Fam, nobody's going to give you shit. But yet, he'll run around and promote a school for only black people, which is retarded. He'll run around with the fancy suit, half-ass douchebag haircut. I'm like, bro, I've been saying this shit for years. People like Umar are retards with a suit and a little bit of money, and they get funded by other niggas to not do a damn thing but walk around and spew out racism. But let's continue.
Self-lubricating engine, the microphone, the stop sign, the walkie-talkie. Why are those lights on right now? Because a black man named Lewis Latimer wrote a textbook that taught China, the UK, Canada, and America how to light up a whole city at night. Without Lewis Latimer, you don't get street lights at night. You don't get constant illumination anywhere in the world. So guess what? Anybody running lights, you paying black people. Take back ownership of our music.
So we should get compensated for something that a black man did when creating lights. Tybo, do you guys remember Tybo from I guess 20 years ago? Those commercials used to come on all the time. Remember that the shredded dude? I don't say he was big, but he was a shredded, tall dude. Let's just say he invented Tybo, right? And Tybo was this thing that made billions of dollars all over the world. And everybody, almost every freaking household in America had Tybo. And if the Tybo guy died, I'm sorry, I know I'm all over the place right now. But if the Tybo guy died, let's say years ago he died, and now it has a white CEO, is dummy Umar Johnson now going to get mad and say that black people are owed the money for Tybo? Because that's what it sounds like. That's where all these salty and bitter racists get their fucking talking points from. And it just goes on to produce more dummies in the world, rather than people just thinking for themselves, and rather for people going with the laws of nature, not the laws that they want to create on their own and say that, we've been here longer than everybody else. Nigga, who's we? I've been here for 29 years. I'm not owed shit. I'm owed that money that comes out of my taxes every fucking paycheck. That's what I'm owed. But other than that, I ain't owed shit in life. Sorry, not sorry.
Confiscated lands. We had hundreds of thousands of acres of land stolen from us between 1865 and Malcolm's assassination in 1965. We need to put together a research team that's going to investigate all the land that was stolen from African people and return it back. Since most of our people are dealing with homelessness, we have the highest homelessness rate in Black America since the 60s. If we can get our land back, that will go a long way.
What does homelessness in 2022 have to do with any of that? And who's to say if we quote unquote get our land back, which we won't? You have to look at everything as a situational basis. Every situation is different. So again, to sit on a platform that you're using and to say this was done because of between 1865 and the assassination of Malcolm X. All this land was taken from us, and that's why black people are homeless in 2022.
In addition to that, America has about 10 major exports: gold, oil, water, electricity. We get a 25% cut permanently. This is perpetual. Every time America makes $1, we get 25 cents of that.
Again, not going to happen.
As part of the reparations payment. American Africans, 60% of us, make up 10 states. All 10 of the states that represent 60% of us are seaboarding states. We should automatically control the port so we know what's coming in, what's going out, and we also get a percentage of that. But here's my biggest issue with reparations 3. 1, psychological damages. I'm not hearing enough of the reparations talking heads discuss enough about the psychological damages. You know you can get far more from what you're owed psychologically than you can ever get for 243 years of unpaid labor on the plantation. The psychological damage is what affects us the most. Every time you see a black man with a white woman, that's psychological damage.
Did I not tell y'all that this dude was out of his mind? Psychological damage. This is a guy that has a doctorate. I believe in psychology, and he's saying this shit.
Every time you see a black woman with a blonde wig on her head, that's psychological damage. Every time you see a little black boy or girl playing with a white doll instead of a black doll, that's psychological damage.
If a little black girl wants to play with a Spider-Woman, the real Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew doll, the doll's going to be white. How is that psychological damage? If a little girl wants to sit there and watch Little Mermaid, the real Little Mermaid, that's not psychological damage. So what are you talking about?
In addition to that, I don't hear nobody talking about the role the Arabs played in the transatlantic slave trade. I don't hear anybody talking about the role that the European Jews played in the slave trade. I don't hear nobody talk about the role that the Catholic Church played in the slave trade. If we're going to talk about reparations, bring every group that was responsible, those who financed the slave ships.
That'd be Nigerians too, though.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
He called them out. He said, I mean, Nigerians too. Hey, look, man, I'll never, like I said before, I'll never side with Charlemagne on probably most of the shit that comes out of his mouth. But I've kind of liked him in his interview because he's challenging Umar a little bit.
There's no precedent for that in the world before European chattel slavery. They didn't know what they were getting into. They were wrong and can be held accountable. Mm-hmm. But let's not take the onus off of the true power structure behind slavery, and that was the...
There we go. Look, man. So giving the same tribe an out, that's what he's doing. That's clearly what he's doing. He's saying, oh yeah, we were in it. We were part of it. So, no, actually, matter of fact, he didn't even say we no more. Where's the we when you talking about the Dahomey tribe? Where's the we in that? Umar, why are you bringing up old shit? Look at the way he's looking at him. He's like, why are you bringing up old shit? Why you call me on my bullshit?
Because they Portuguese.
Oh, Portuguese was in it. The Dutch was in it. The Italians was in it. The Germans was in it. Who didn't have a hand either in slavery outright or...
There we go again. Who didn't have a hand in slavery? This is straight up free content for me because I've been everything that y'all saying about Umar, I've been saying for years.
Colonization that came after it. And when you factor in colonization with slavery, you can't possibly blame an African nation for that because they suffered during colonization as much as we did in slavery. So I reject any proposal that wants to make African people more liable for slavery than the white people who owned, controlled, expanded, and benefited.
Oh, I agree
from
with
it.
that. Yeah, they're definitely not more liable. It's just like you said, everybody.
Nor are they equally liable.
Oh, equally. Everybody needs to be at the table.
Absolutely, but Africa don't owe us reparations.
And now he's saying that not only do they have a minimal hand in what they did, he was like, oh yeah, but when it comes to us having our hands out, they don't owe us anything. What? Walking around with your hands out to society is just utterly ridiculous and pointless. So why even think that way?
They owe us as a people internal reparations, just like we owe ourselves as a people internal reparations. Here's what I want to say. We are entitled to reparations. We will get it. But let us be clear something. Money isn't going to fix.
We will get it.
Girls from YouTube ran to the Cherry Hill Mall and got sat down with the snow bunny.
Are you one of Dr. Umar's wives is what they were trying to realize how funny it is. That's like a Dr. Umar trap. We're going to set up the incense and the rocks, but when he go over there, snow bunny.
Yeah.
How are we still using that term in 2022? Like, I used it when I was like 23, 24. Kind of stopped using it after then. How are these grown-ass men in their 40s and 50s sitting up here laughing, snow bunnies? It's not a term you should probably be using on national radio. If y'all ban all these other words that aren't even harmful, but y'all ain't gonna sit up there and ban that word, I don't know what kind of clown world we're living in, man.
I had a group of white boys run up to me at the airport. I was in Dallas, Texas. Can we take a picture? I took the picture. Why do I do that? People say, why you take pictures when white folks stop you? Because it's important for the world to know that my agenda is not hate. My agenda is African liberation. I'm opposed to white supremacy. I'm not opposed to white people. My priority is my own people, but I have nothing against yours. I'm unapologetically African, but the problem is historically, any black man who is unapologetically African, Malcolm, the Honorable Marcus Garvey, Stokely Carmichael, Huey P. Newton, anybody who is that way, we will automatically brand it as anti-everybody else. That is not true. We are Africans. We are the original humanitarians of the planet Earth. We have...
It's funny. He'll say all this right now. He'll say, we think that, people that hear our names, they think that we're not... Like, I can't speak for any of those other guys that he mentioned. I only know about dummy Umar Johnson. And I know that this guy is full of shit. Because he's going to sit up here, he's going to say, I know that we were the first people on earth and blah, 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 blah. And that, I'm not, what did he say? He said, I'm not racist, I'm just against white supremacy, blah, 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 whatever. We know that that's a term that's overused, way overused in this day and age. On top of that, we know that he's about to, maybe 30 minutes left of this interview, and we know he's about to say a whole bunch more racist shit. So, we know he's full of shit when he's saying all this. But again, he needs a way to justify his actions. He needs a way to justify him actually being a salty and bitter racist.
Never been against another people, but I'm unapologetically committed to my own.
So you don't hate white people. You just don't.
I don't hate nobody.
You don't want to see black people.
I became a psychologist to help people, and in my work, I do work with all races. But my priority.
And as he mentioned earlier, he does work with all races because he has to, not because he wants to, not because he has an open mind, but because his quote unquote own people won't get the job done on time. Again, not my words. His.